I've done this a number of times. I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends who have done this, and it has saved them a tremendous amount of money when they went to go buy their new vehicle. You are in the driver's seat. Just know that doc fees have gotten completely out of hand. So many dealerships are trying to get $599. I've seen up to $899 for a doc fee, a documentation fee. Does it come with a back rub and ultimate massage? Patience will always prove to your benefit. Always, if you have an opportunity to, walk away from a dealership. Kind of leave them hanging a little bit, because I assure you that next day or two, or maybe even that same day, they'll be calling you with a better deal to try to make you pull the trigger. You inquire about a vehicle, what is that sales rep going to ask you? They're going to ask, when can you come in? When can you make it into the dealership? That's always their knee-jerk reaction, because they know once they get you into the dealership, feeling the vehicle, actually sitting in it, they know they got you. If a dealership is still trying to deploy markups or ADMs, additional dealer markups, or addendums over the MSRP, I recommend walking from that dealership and leaving them a 1-star review. Why can't you just buy directly from Ford? Why can't I go get this Ford Mustang 5.0 straight from Ford and not have to deal with the dealership? Why can't I do that? Well, the answer is dealer franchise laws. State dealer franchise laws protect dealerships within their states. It protects that local economy, the economic impact. When you go to trade in your vehicle, first thing that the dealership will check is the wholesale value. How much can they auction off your vehicle for if they needed to? So they often use that as a starting point for your trade-in. A lot of dealerships right now are struggling bad because they burn bridges with so many of their loyal customers who have been going to the dealership for years. They burn bridges because they were quick to try to line their pockets with a $5,000 or $10,000 addendum over sticker. Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So in today's video, I'm going to cram a whole lot of information into this, but I assure you, if you stick it out to the end, I'm confident in saying that you will undoubtedly save a lot of money on your next vehicle purchase. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking it up into 5 different segments. Number 1, I'll open with a brief summary of the current state of the car market. I'll then lead into what you should expect when dealing with the dealership staff, between that sales rep, sales manager, and the finance rep when you get to that part of it. Number 3, I'll go perhaps over the most important bit, how to negotiate the best possible deal. What are the steps that you know kidding should follow to get that best possible deal? Number 4 will be what fees and gimmicks you should be on the lookout for when you're trying to buy that vehicle. And I'll wrap up this video with when is the best time to buy here in 2025. So stick with me. So for starters, why should you be taking advice from me? Number 1, I owned and operated a successful nationwide auto brokerage service where I would locate and negotiate deals for you guys. And that was a very successful thing, but it was exhausting if I'm being honest with you, because I never wanted to let anybody down with it. So that took a lot of time and a lot of bandwidth to do it. Number 2, if you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know for a fact that I've negotiated dozens and dozens of deals on my own behalf, right? And they're often higher trimmed, desirable vehicles and negotiated really good deals on them. And third, I do personally have a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology. I love this stuff. I love geeking out about it and really leaning into the research of it. So enough of that, let's get into it. For starters, let's talk about the current state of the car market. I'm gonna keep this kind of brief. I've done a lot of videos on this, but I think it's important for you to have a firm grasp on what the current car market looks like before going in to try to negotiate a deal. For starters, I think a lot of us can agree that quality has gone down tremendously across all brands, all manufacturers, while those price tags keep getting shot to the moon, right? We've seen a 42% increase of MSRPs across the board, across all vehicle manufacturers on average since 2019. And well, when you walk any dealership lot right now, what are you gonna see? Lines upon lines of unsold inventory. And right now, beginning of March, you see a ton of unsold carryover units from 2024. I would wager you're going to continue to see that as we teeter deeper into 2025. Right now, we're actually seeing dealerships turn away deliveries. They're turning away their allocations because they no longer have the space for it. Their overflow lots, secondary and third overflow lots, they are often overflowing. And well, it's likely thanks to vehicles like this. The Toyota Tundra here, the price tags of these have shot to the moon. We saw a 25 to 28% increase of MSRPs of these just since the last generation. That shift between 2021 and 2022 here. This one here also no longer has a naturally aspirated V8. We got that twin turbo V6 iForce or iForce Max with the hybrid version of it, but the price tags of these often teeter towards $70,000 and $80,000. Absolutely absurd. And heaven forbid you want a mid-sized pickup truck, you can come get yourself a new 2024 Toyota Tacoma, but get ready to spend well over 50 grand for really any trim. You want a TRD Pro Trail Hunter, get ready to spend 70. And we talk about it plenty, but banks are clamping down. 1 out of 5 auto loans that were applied for throughout the last 2 months were actually denied. They're doing background checks, they're digging deeper to ensure that they are giving these loans to people who can actually make these payments. And we've already seen a huge uptick in the number of repossessions just this last year, a 23% increase in repos just in 2024 alone compared to 2023. So it really is no shocker that banks are clamping down. And that's a part of the problem here too. With inventory stacking up, dealerships are being left with no choice but to slash prices and offer you incentivized interest rates. In fact, 1 out of 4 individuals with an auto loan out right now has a negative equity. That national average negative equity is just over $7,200, meaning people owe on average $7,200 more on their current vehicle loan than what that vehicle is currently worth. Let that sink in. Unfortunately, it is coming from all brands. Toyota has historically been known as the brand or company with reliable, affordable vehicles. Reliability, simplicity, and affordability, right? That has since gone out the window. You see it with that new Tacoma over there, that new Tundra with the large safety recall and that main crankshaft bearing. People are losing confidence even in brands like Toyota when it comes to reliability. This Toyota Land Cruiser here, the Land Cruiser nameplate in general, used to be synonymous with reliability. Not anymore. With this now 4-banger underneath the hood hybridized platform, and it still costs $60,000. And this is the quote-unquote most affordable Land Cruiser trim that you can get. Vehicles like this Toyota Camry are actually selling right now. You know, between getting excellent fuel economy, as you'd imagine, the price tags are bearable. And this one's an XLE trim, so kind of a higher trim. Even this one is priced at an affordable price point, with the national average being $48,405 for a new vehicle purchase. This still falls underneath that threshold. Really, people are just choosing to keep their vehicle a little bit longer. Historically speaking, 3 to 5 years used to be the average. But now, as we're teetering deeper into 2025 here, people are not trading in, largely due to the fact that they have a negative equity, of course, and values of their trade-in has gone down tremendously over the last year and a half. But people are just realizing it's not worth these astronomical price tags that manufacturers are wanting now. It's not worth getting into debt and spending $900 plus per month. In fact, the national average right now for an auto loan payment on a new vehicle purchase is $760. People are now holding onto their vehicles for 5 to 10 years. They're realizing it's not worth taking out these astronomical loans and making these large monthly payments, but instead, it's much wiser to perform the necessary maintenance and perform that necessary service to prolong the life of their current vehicle. One thing we don't talk about often is wholesale values or the auction values of your vehicles. When you go to trade in your vehicle, first thing that the dealership will check is the wholesale value. How much can they auction off your vehicle for if they needed to? So they often use that as a starting point for your trade-in. Wholesale values have gone down 18 to 20% over the last 9 months. That generally trickles behind about a quarter or two for the retail market, for you and I. So as we teeter deeper into 2025, used values are going to only spiral downward even more. And we talked about it briefly, but the average new vehicle purchase price throughout 2024 was $48,405. The average new truck purchase price throughout 2024 was $64,266. So really it should come as no shock that individuals, over half of all individuals who took out a loan for a truck, are paying more than $1,000 per month for that loan. Kind of insane, huh? When it comes to new vehicle inventory, we now have 3.1 million new units available as of February 2025. This time last year, there was 500,000 less vehicles available. And this time, 2023, there was 1.5 million vehicles less. This is new inventory. When it comes to used inventory, we have 2.3 million used vehicles available right now within the US. That growth rate has been astounding and really unprecedented. It's been a 120% growth rate over the last 2.5 years. That's wild. Instead of going out and buying a brand new turbocharged hybrid 4-banger, a lot of people are gravitating to the older platforms like this naturally aspirated V6 5th generation Toyota 4Runner. This here offers tremendous peace of mind. You could truly start this up with full confidence and run it for 250,000 miles with very little issue. Same goes for the previous generation, the 3rd generation Toyota Tacoma here. This here also has a naturally aspirated V6. So whether dealerships want to admit to it or not, they're going to need to get desperate. They're going to need to get creative throughout 2025 here. Their inventory levels are skyrocketing and people are being denied their loans. They just cannot afford to go out and buy a new vehicle. So they're going to have to do something, and that something has to be soon. And let's face it, the cost of living has just gotten out of hand, and because of that, people are struggling bad. The first thing to go oftentimes is your auto loan payment. If you need to decide between making your rent payment or your mortgage payment or an auto loan payment, of course, you're going to default on that first, which is why we are seeing the largest level, the highest levels of 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day auto loan delinquencies since the 08-09 recession. People are struggling bad. The cost of mortgage, the cost of groceries, the cost of insurance. Insurance has over doubled in the last 2.5 years. That's wild. So that's just a quick summary. If you want to see more or learn more, check out my channel and my other videos. Let's talk about what you should expect when you engage with the dealership staff. Between that first interaction with that sales rep, to that sales manager, to your finance rep ultimately. Let's talk through it. So for starters, whenever you make a phone call to a dealership and you inquire about a vehicle, what is that sales rep going to ask you? They're going to ask, when can you come in? When can you make it into the dealership? That's always their knee-jerk reaction, because they know once they get you into the dealership, feeling the vehicle, actually sitting in it, they know they got you. And they really hone in on that, and they take advantage of that situation. Then that begins the whole saga of, well, let me go ask my manager. I'm gonna go back and talk to my manager. I'll try my best. And that starts the back and forth, which is exhausting. So don't even put yourself in that position. Never just go into the dealership because they ask you to do that. Do your homework, do your research in advance, know the number that you want to get for the vehicle that you're trying to buy, know the value of your trade-in, that top dollar, or the bottom dollar rather, that you want to actually get for that trade-in before you even walk into those doors. The next question that the sales rep will likely ask is, do you have a trade-in? I suggest not showing your cards just yet. Tell them, hey, I really just want to focus on the sale price of the vehicle that I'm interested in. I'm really interested in getting the best possible deal when it comes to that price. Focus on that first. The next question a sales rep will ask is, do you plan to finance or are you paying cash? They really ask that question because they get a little bit of a kickback when you finance through the dealership. So I purposely say, hey, I'm undecided on that. Again, I'm just more so focused on getting that best deal, then maybe we can work through that. I say that because I often use the financing bit as my final play, right? That's your final weapon in your arsenal, if you will. So once you get that price down to a figure that you feel pretty good about, you can then deploy, hey, if I finance with you guys, would you be willing to, instead of taking $31,000, would you take $30,000 if it meant making a deal today? Use it as your final ploy. And oftentimes, in my experience anyway, they generally say yes, because they do get a kickback from that financing institution. Sometimes it's, it can be as low as like $250, $500, depending on the price of the vehicle and the interest rate associated with it. But generally speaking, it's right around $1,000 or more. So they generally take it. Another thing to look out for is when a dealership or a sales rep asks you, what do you want your payments to look like? Don't focus on that. Only focus on the actual sale price of the vehicle. What is that final number? By doing that, well, those monthly payments will work themselves out naturally. And we'll talk more about this when we get to the negotiation part of this video, but look out for sales reps who are including the tax savings. When you trade in a vehicle for $10,000, you get $10,000 off of your taxable amount on the vehicle that you're trading in for, in most states anyway. So look out for sales reps who say, well, you're with your tax savings included, you're looking at a $11,000 trade-in value. Avoid sales reps who really lean into that, because what you're really wanting to focus on, what is the amount that they're giving you for your vehicle, not the tax savings included. That's pretty pathetic. Now, depending on the vehicle that I'm buying, I will sometimes ask to speak with the sales manager directly right from the start, just to kind of cut out the riffraff, cut out the back and forth of let me ask my manager. But generally speaking, that doesn't always work, right? I mean, I only do it if I'm going to be buying a very expensive vehicle. That is when I'll deploy that. But more often than not, that sales rep will work to try to get you that deal if you just do it the right way. So what are some things that you'll hear from the finance rep? For starters, what are they there for? They want to sell you an extended warranty or an extended protection package of some sort. Just know that those packages that they're trying to push on you, there's a huge profit margin for them. And more often than not, you can actually go directly to the source of that company and buy that same protection package or extended warranty for pennies on the dollar compared to what they're trying to sell it to you for. So be on the lookout for that. I personally always decline those offerings. On very rare occasion would I suggest actually buying that straight from the dealership. In addition to that, you might on occasion find a sleazy dealership trying to sell you an extended warranty and say, hey, if you buy this extended warranty or buy this extended protection package, I can bring your interest rate from 11% down to 9%. That's actually illegal for them to do because they've already submitted all your information to the lenders and you've already been approved for the 9%. Buying a protection package does not have any weight on what your interest rate is. So just have that hip pocket just in case you bump into that. Now let's get into the most important bit of this video. How do you, no kidding, negotiate the best possible deal here in 2025? I've done this a number of times. I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends who have done this, and it has saved them a tremendous amount of money when they went to go buy their new vehicle. So for starters, just know that right now, here in 2025, if I haven't already made it abundantly clear, just know that you are absolutely in the driver's seat. Don't let any dealership boss you around or bully you around. You're in the driver's seat. There's plenty of inventory. That vehicle that you're likely interested in, I guarantee it, it's likely just up the road at the next dealership. There's another example of it. So don't get too connected and don't get married to buying that exact one from that exact dealership. So for starters, I recommend doing a very detailed, honest write-up of your trade-in if you have one. If you intend to trade in a vehicle, do a write-up of it to include the VIN number, the exact mileage, and include a dozen or more photos. I generally have 10 to 20 photos in and outside of my vehicle to include one of the dash, proving the mileage. Always have that hip pocket, and then get ready to copy and paste it because you're going to be sending it to a lot of dealerships here. So write that up first, step one. So like I hinted at, I do suggest first negotiating the price of the vehicle that you're interested in. I would start 2 or 3 states away. Start far away from you. If you're looking at a Chevy Silverado, start 2 or 3 states away. If they have the same exact Silverado, the same trim that you're interested in, call them and say, hey, I'm a little far away. I can't just drive into you, but I would like to work a deal with you on this truck. And then get that price tag as low as you possibly can, get it in writing, and then introduce your trade-in with the detailed description that we just talked about. Send them all the photos. Sometimes you're going to bump into the issue of sales reps or dealerships saying, hey, we can't offer you a trade-in value sight unseen. We need to see your vehicle. I would just move on. In today's climate, with the current market being the way it is, don't even waste your time with them. I think if the dealerships are wanting to move their metal, they're going to need to get creative, and they should absolutely be willing to give you a pretty good ballpark estimate trade-in value that they should stick to, which is why it is important for you to be honest with the condition of your vehicle. If they got cracks in the windshield, a couple dents in it, be transparent, because you don't want to strike a deal, get to a good figure, and then make a trip out to a dealership only for them to be like, what's this all about? And they give you much less for it. This is why it's very important for you to do your homework in advance. Have a figure in mind for how much you want to spend on the vehicle, that great deal you're trying to get on it, and have a figure in mind for your trade-in, right? Do some homework, see how much your vehicle is going for, and shoot a little high on how much you want to get for your trade-in, because just know they're never going to meet you exactly where you want to be. So shoot a little higher than what you know is realistic for it, and shoot a little bit lower on that price tag of the vehicle that you're trying to get, because again, they're not going to meet you where you want to be. So you're purposely starting far because you want to get a starting point, right? You want to get a starting point on the truck that you're interested in buying, or car, whatever it is, and get it in writing. So if it's the best that they can do is $5,000 off that Silverado you're trying to get, and the best that they're trying to give you for your F-150 trade-in is $30,000, get it in writing. Get it in writing, and more often than not, they're happy to do that. They're happy to send you over a purchase order or a purchase form, or text it to you at very least. That gives you your ammunition to begin your hunt. So at this point, you're going to go to another dealership, hopefully a little bit closer to you, still maybe 2 states away, with that same exact Chevy Silverado that you're trying to buy. Go to them and say, hey, I'm interested in that Silverado here. Here's an agreement, or at least an offer that I received from another dealership not too far away. Are you willing to beat this offer? You need to specifically say, are you willing to beat it? Don't ask them to match it. Say, are you willing to beat it? Because if you're willing to take that offer, you would have probably just bought the other one, right? So ask them to beat it. And in my experience, they generally do. They'll generally beat it at least by $500, sometimes $1,000, if it means trying to get your business. Again, get it in writing from them. And well, you guessed it. Next step is to find another dealership a little bit closer than that and send them that offer. Say, hey, I'm interested in that Silverado there. Are you willing to beat this offer from them? And hopefully you can do that 2 or 3 more times and get those numbers to where you want them to be, at least very close to where you want them to be. Each time that you call a different dealership, I recommend getting closer and closer to where you live. And then by the time that you're very close by and you're in your neck of the woods, you can call your local dealership that hopefully has that vehicle that you're interested in, or the closest one, and say, hey, here's the best deal I have. Are you willing to beat it if it means making a deal with you? If you share that with them and say, hey, I'm actually local to you. I would love to keep my business local and in my backyard if possible. Can you beat it? And in my experience, 9 times out of 10, they will. And that is when you can deploy the final tactic of, hey, I'm willing to finance with you if you can do just a little bit better for me. We'll make it happen today. I recommend only doing that when you're actually ready to make a deal happen, right? Use that as your final tactic to seal the deal. Or if you were trying to pay with cash all along, just know that cash is no longer king, right? They want to hear that you're interested in financing, or make it undecided the entire discussion. And then only at the very end will you say, hey, I'm going to just pay cash with it. Because again, they're not going to get that small kickback from that banking institution or that lender, right? So it's a little bit of a detriment to the dealership at large, but it is possible. Just hold that at bay until the very end. And for whatever it's worth, if you are going to finance with the dealership, it's never really a bad idea to come with your own pre-approval in advance. I mean, they're going to pull your credit no matter what, but if you pull your credit a couple times back to back for the same purpose, generally speaking, it won't serve as that big of a detriment to your credit score. So just kind of have that in mind. Same goes for like buying a house, right? They want you to shop around a little bit within a 2 or 3 week window. So oftentimes without penalty. So feel free to come with your own pre-approval. Generally speaking, a credit union will do the best interest rate. So come to the dealership with that and ask them to beat it, if at all possible. Hopefully they'll get very close at very least. So what are those bogus fees or gimmicky fees that you should be on the lookout for? For starters, window tint seems to be a pretty large offender of it. Dealerships love to put window tint on their vehicles and then charge you twice or even 3 times more than what it truly costs, right? You'll go there and you'll spend $1,000 or $1,200 for window tint when you can easily go to any window tint place and spend $400 or $500 for it. And that's kind of on the higher end, if we're being honest, for a nice tint. So that's something to be on the lookout for. Same goes for like clear bras. If a vehicle has a clear bra, oftentimes it's kind of a partial clear bra. Those ones there only cost really $400, about that, for the partial, okay? For most vehicles. But generally speaking, they'll try to get you for $1,000 or more for it. So just be on the lookout and feel free to call them out on it. Another silly one would be nitrogen in your tires. Nitrogen filled tires, and there's often a $200 or $300 upcharge for it, which is absolutely ludicrous. So do not fall for that. Have them peel that off of the deal. And doc fees have gotten completely out of hand. So many dealerships are trying to get $599. I've seen up to $899 for a doc fee, a documentation fee. Does it come with a back rub and ultimate massage? More often than not, they don't, right? So do not pay anything more than $299. That seems to be the appropriate point to be at. Those inflated ones, be sure to take note of that as you're working that deal and make sure that you're discounting the vehicle a sufficient amount to make up for that huge fee if you end up going through that dealership. Now, another ridiculous one would be having you fill out the pre-approval paperwork before you even test drive the vehicle. I personally have never bumped into that, but I have heard a lot of testimonials of dealerships trying to deploy that. They want you to get pre-approved before you even get behind the wheel and really decide ultimately that you want it. So that is absolutely ridiculous for a dealership to do that. I would say if anyone tries to deploy that, just leave, just walk. You don't want to work with them. What other sleazy tactics are they up to? And if a dealership is still trying to deploy markups or ADMs, additional dealer markups or addendums over the MSRP, I recommend walking from that dealership and leaving them a 1-star review. That is so 2021. Get away from that dealership and do not let them trick you into thinking that that is a normal thing. Dealerships trying to deploy that really need to go under. In my opinion, that truly is the fastest way for a dealership to lose any good reputation that they have. A lot of dealerships right now are struggling bad because they burn bridges with so many of their loyal customers who have been going to the dealership for years. They burn bridges because they were quick to try to line their pockets with a $5,000 or $10,000 addendum over sticker just so they can have that nearsighted business model. It really is just that, because I guarantee that person who got taken advantage of, they are not going back to that dealership ever again. It's worth repeating, but do not let a finance rep trick you into thinking that you need to buy a protection plan or extended warranty in order to get a lesser interest rate on the vehicle. That is absolutely absurd and it's illegal to do. Just have that in mind. And honestly, it is a total shame that we even have to have this conversation, that I have to walk you through all these steps and things to consider just to avoid getting tricked or hoodwinked by a dealership. It's pretty pathetic, which really does beg the question, why do we have dealerships in general, right? A lot of people are interested in the Tesla concept, the direct-to-consumer purchased model that they have. Why can't you just buy directly from Ford? Why can't I go get this Ford Mustang 5.0 straight from Ford and not have to deal with the dealership? Why can't I do that? Well, the answer is dealer franchise laws. State dealer franchise laws protect dealerships within their states. It protects that local economy, the economic impact of having a dealership, this establishment here, right? It protects all the employees in there. It just ensures that they will remain a viable economic impact, which a lot of people don't agree with. Which brings me to the final point of this video. When do I recommend buying a vehicle in 2025? I personally believe and firmly believe that May to August timeframe is going to be your best bet in getting your best possible deal. I say that for a few reasons. Number one, we're currently in tax season right now, right? A lot of people are getting their tax returns and they're going out and buying a vehicle with their return, that check, as a down deposit on their vehicle. So a lot of dealerships every year kind of bank on that to some degree. This year, I don't think they have the luxury of banking on that so much. Second reason for May to August being the most appropriate time would be that is when families are going on their family vacations, right? That is when kids are out of school, fresh out of school, and they're putting their money toward that vacation that they've been saving up for. They're not using that money to go buy a brand new vehicle more often than not. Tax season's over with, and that May to August timeframe is still before the end of year sales hit. The end of year sales really hit around September onward to the end of the year. And they're often gimmicky. They're more gimmicky than not, if we're being honest with each other. But a lot of people kind of fall victim to that, and they flock out in droves to go buy their vehicle with that end of year sale in mind. That May to August truly is the frozen middle, in my opinion. And I do firmly believe that is when you're going to get the best deal. Not to mention, you're going to see a lot of carryover units still on dealership lots come that time. So I think you're going to be able to get a phenomenal deal, a huge discount off of MSRP, and an incentivized interest rate on a 2024 model still collecting dust on a dealership come that time. So I assure you, if you just spend one afternoon making these phone calls, sending these text messages to that sales rep to various dealerships, you will get a much better deal had you've just walked into your local dealership to try to make something happen. You are in the driver's seat, just know that. And not to mention, I didn't talk about it in this video, but patience will always prove to your benefit. Always, if you have an opportunity to, walk away from a dealership. Kind of leave them hanging a little bit, because I assure you that next day or two, or maybe even that same day, they'll be calling you with a better deal to try to make you pull the trigger. One thing you do need to look out for is lot rot. And I know a lot of people throw those terms around loosely all the time, but it is a real thing. If a dealership has been sitting on a vehicle, especially a carryover unit from 2024, and it's July-August timeframe of 2025, look that vehicle over. Make sure that they were able to get that vehicle moving a little bit. It wasn't just sitting in that same place for several months, because oftentimes that can happen, and there are some pretty detrimental effects that can take place to that vehicle. So just keep that in mind. All right, guys, we'll wrap up the video there. And forgive me, I know this was me being pretty long-winded, but I do firmly believe in the steps that I walked through in this video. I am confident that if you really do abide by what I just mentioned here, you will get a great deal on your next vehicle purchase. I want you to. I don't want dealerships to keep raking in money on people and taking advantage of people. They've done that long enough. So I encourage you to try that out. Let me know if it works for you, of course. And again, I really hope this is helpful for you. If you found any kind of value in this video, I do respectfully request that you please consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a lot, and it certainly doesn't go unnoticed. Until next time.